And then, of course, Katie is. Is there anyone else here?
Marianne.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to the PRADO water cooler session. We so appreciate your time on this, and it's going to be well worth your time. I'm really excited to introduce Katie Miller and Ann Kendrick. Katie Miller is Director of Membership at Vermont Public. She's been there since 2023, and she's made a huge difference in their membership program since the time there. If you've been around her, which I know some of you have, she's just really smart at membership. And I think one thing that I think Katie and Ann have is they don't suffer fools well. So they get to the job and they take care of it. So and before coming to public media, which we're so glad she did come, she spent almost 2 decades in nonprofit leadership and fundraising. She's, of course, on the PRADO board, and she is a PRADO mentor as well. Ann Kendrick, I am lucky enough to come in and work with her every day. She's the Assistant Director of Individual Giving at WNC, where she's worked for 15 years. I had to ask her, how long have you worked here? And she said 15. And I was like, gosh, I thought that was true, but then I thought, have you really been here 15? And then I thought, not long enough. I think the Sustainer program is probably her favorite part of her job, and she's just done an incredible job building the program while she's been working here. She worked for WMFE in Orlando before that. Fun fact, she worked to save the manatees in Florida before that. And she's also worked and consulted with stations across the nation to help them with their fundraising efforts. So we're going to talk about Sustainer upgrades, which both of them just do an incredible job with, and we're going to start off with Katie.
Awesome. Bear with me while I share my screen, everybody. Um, let's see. Hopefully it will behave. There we go. Everybody can see my screen okay? I was telling Regina earlier, when I do it this way, for whatever reason, I can't see you. So if you have a
It
question, feel free to
It
interrupt
is
me.
kind of small for some reason, or I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like not taking up the whole page.
weird. Here, let's try
Yeah.
again from the beginning.
It worked earlier when you tried it.
Yeah, and I did the same exact thing. So let's see.
Yeah. It's
Um,
like we're seeing half you and half the slides. So,
weird.
yeah.
Is it still doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Hang on. There's a layout button. Is that better?
Oh, well, now there's a weird gray screen. Well, that's a little better. Can you make it full screen? Can you click on that and see if that? No. There,
There
that's
you go.
yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Miller. Like Regina said, I'm the director of membership at Vermont Public. And one thing we've had success with, as well as their station has over the past year in particular, are sustainer upgrades. And we just wanted to share our playbook with all of you. And like I said, when I share my screen, I can't see you. So if you have a question, feel free to interject, or Regina can probably um, help out with that too. So a little bit about our station and our membership program. So Vermont Public is a joint licensee, which means we have NPR and PBS programming. We also have a classical radio station. We have digital news online, a suite of podcasts, all the usual stuff that you would expect. Our Q numbers are here. So just to give you an idea of like how big our station is, these are broadcast numbers for the Q. It does not include digital streaming, which those numbers are actually pretty comparable to what you see here. The area we serve is pretty large. We serve the entire state of Vermont. We serve a sliver of New Hampshire and a sliver of New York on either side, where we overlap with friends at North Country Public Radio and Mountain Lake PBS, as well as our friends in New Hampshire. And we also serve Quebec, the Montreal metro area. Our news station and PBS station reach that entire area, which is really great. We have about 46,000 members, which, if you compare that to population, Vermont Public and historically VPR before our merger is one of the highest stations in the country for members per capita. Our largest city in Vermont, which is going to be laughable to some of you from bigger areas, has about 40,000 residents. So comparatively, that's a lot of folks, and about 60% of that are sustaining members. And our membership team, whenever I talk about this stuff, I like to talk about how big or the size of our team, because I think that matters when you're talking about projects like this and how to make it scalable. So our membership team is made up of myself. We also have my colleague, Sarah Matthews, which a lot of what I'm telling you today is Sarah's brainchild and brain work. So I'm here to share it with you, but if we're going to give credit to anyone, it's definitely Sarah. And she handles things like email, website, pulling in our NPR and PBS leads, things like that. We also have a donor service specialist on our team, and we also contract with ACD for some donor services work. And then we have a CRM and integrations team, which is 2 people, and they help us with a lot of the tech backend. So when I tell you all of this, just know that we have a pretty big team making all of this happen, but I hopefully am going to give you some tools that make this scalable as well. And what we use in general, because I know that matters to people too, we use Revolution Online. We call it Roy as our CRM. We use MailChimp for email. We use ACD donate forms. And in terms of collecting sustainer upgrades, we do that in a variety of ways. Sometimes we use an ACD form. We found actually the most successful method to be a Google form or a Jot form, something that's really quick and easy. It does involve some manual entry, but it has been the easiest way and the most successful way. We get the most upgrades when we use a Google form. And it's just name, email, and how much they want to increase by. Okay, so a timeline, a little bit are about
just a minute, Katie. We do have this weird gray line at the top of this, but I am not sure how we can. Mary asked about it. I'm not sure how we can adjust that. And now there's a gray square, but it went
weird.
away.
I wonder.
It's not taking up a whole lot of copy as long as you read everything.
I wonder, does that make it better?
That's better. Yeah, it's
I
higher
think
now.
it's the Zoom controls are over top of the screen and they won't
Okay.
give me the option to make them go away. So
Yeah.
thank you for saying something. Hopefully that's a little better. Okay, so the timeline for sustainer upgrades at Vermont Public. So when I got here in 2023, we were not asking sustainers for increases ever at all. There was a lot of hesitation around it, as you can imagine, because part of the selling point for sustainers for a very long time was set it and forget it, right? That was one of the selling points. And we've moved away from saying that on air. We don't want people to forget about it. We want them to know that it's flexible, that they can increase or decrease their amount depending on their budget, what works for them. So in late 2023, it was during our December drive, we asked sustainers to increase their gift over email for the very first time. And we were all sort of braced for the negative reactions to that from our members. And we only received, it was less than 5, I think, emails from people saying, I became a sustainer, so you would never ask me for money again. And we said, thank you so much. And we took them off the solicitation asks. And then, so that was in 2023. And then from there, we iterated, and every single drive, we would try something a little different. And up until March of 2025, all of those asks for sustainer increases were happening over email. They were not happening anywhere else. We didn't talk about it on air or anything like that until March of 2025, which is when the DOGE hearings were. If people remember the DOGE committee hearings with NPR and PBS CEOs, that happened 2 days before our spring membership drive here at Vermont Public. And the timing for those events sort of lined up. We did not time our drives around them. It just sort of lined up that way. But we used those hearings. A colleague of mine and I sat down and we watched all of the many hours of the hearings live, and we took notes, and we used that to sort of fuel the drive. And around the same time that was happening, we were also setting budget and strategy for FY26. So March 2025 was the first time we mentioned live on air that you could increase your gift. And it was very sparingly during pitching. And people were sort of timid about it, unless I was pitching. And then I was like, hey, you can increase your gift. That's an option. So it wasn't any formal thing, but it started to get into the on-air messaging. At the same time, we were prioritizing budget for the coming fiscal year. We were anticipating the loss of federal funding, though, of course, we hoped it wouldn't happen. And we knew we were going to go all in on sustainers no matter what, new sustainers and increases. And so by July 2025, when we lost federal funding, We had a drive in June, and then shortly after, it was, I think, the day after federal funding was rescinded, we had a 1.5 day emergency drive. And we really pitched sustainer increases for the first time. Not every single break, but how we form our breaks on radio is we tell our pitchers and our producers to pick one type of donor, one ask amount, and one way to give. So it would be, current sustainer. So this example would be current sustainers, increase your gift, and do it online, that sort of thing. So we didn't track those gifts separately though for that drive. So I don't have really good data immediately accessible on how many came out of that drive, though we could pull it out. By September 2025, we had our fall drive. We were asking for increases, every third break because we were rotating types of donors we were asking for, and developed a tracking system for that. And from just that drive alone, it was 4 days long. We received more than 1,200 increases. And then in October 2025, we began using conditional formatting and segmenting to include sustainer increases in every single fundraising email we send, which leads me to, there we go, how we did this. So what it looks like now in the campaign we did last year, was we came up with a tagline, and this was a little bit controversial on staff as well, because essentially what we said was we did the math and we realized that if every single sustaining member increases their gift by $7 a month, we'll close the federal funding gap for good. And we said that over and over and over for a year. And people were concerned about the $7 a month amount. They were concerned that it would lower the average gift, that people wouldn't respond. And what wound up happening is that we heard it in person, in comments, in emails, so many sustainers telling us, thank you, that $7 a month number really stuck in my head and it felt tangible and it felt like something I could do. And so how we did that, like I said, we had on-air pitching. We would do special premium offers before a drive starts, like an early bird special. So we would say, increase your gift to a certain level or buy a certain amount, and you can get the new thank you gift, even if they'd already gotten one that year and all that stuff. Another thing we did that was really effective was during our fall drive last year, and we plan to do it again this year. We offered a match we had a lot of matching funds, and we used them to match the entire first year of new sustainers and a current sustainer increase. And there's a lot of math that had to happen on the back end to make sure we were tracking that properly. But that was really incentivizing for folks. We had some spots, which I'll share. We did have web and digital graphics. I meant to share some here, but the person who would get me them is on vacation. So, and then last, like I said, so we have these sort of set segments for our emails, and we do change them up from time to time, but they're pretty consistently what you see here. And so it's focused on a pipeline. And so current sustainers are always getting an increase ask, and we use conditional formatting. So we're sending everyone the same email, but the ask is different for different groups. Unless they recently increased in that time, how we determine recent changes, depending on the time of year. But they get a thank you for their support. And then the other thing we did was at events, before every single live event that we have, when someone's doing their introduction, there's a slide or a poster or something near them with a QR code that tells people how to either become a sustainer or increase their gift. All right, I'm going to share a couple pieces now. So this first one, this is a spot that ran on radio. It was late fall.
After almost 60 years of strong bipartisan support, Congress has cut all federal funding for public media, stripping away a critical pillar of support for local stations like ours. At Vermont Public, we'll lose at least $2 million this year. If all our sustaining members increase their gift by $7 per month, we'll close that gap for good. Increase your gift today and help close the gap at vermontpublic.org/update.
Okay, so that's an example of a spot we ran. We're running similar ones right now. About, this is year 2 without federal funding. This is an example of a TV spot we had. It's a very similar script, but just an example for any joint licensees here of how we catered the message to our TV audience. I can get it to play. There we go.
We are in our first months without federal funding for public broadcasting in more than 5 decades. And right now, we're asking you to consider increasing your monthly gift. We've done the math, and if every sustaining member adds just $7 to their monthly donation, we'll close the federal funding gap for good. You can keep the foundation of public media in Vermont strong and help us thrive in this new landscape. Increase your monthly donation today at vermontpublic.org/gifts.
All right, so I think those are pretty good examples of the spots we were using last year. This year, we're still in script drafting mode about what increases will look and sound like this year.
After almost 60 years,
Yeah.
We
of
are in
strong
our first months
playing.
without federal.
I'm sorry, everybody. Okay, and what were the results? I think everybody wants to know, like, you did all this work, what does it actually look like at the end? So in the end, just over 6,000 increases over the past fiscal year, which our fiscal year ended on June 30th, which is about a little more than a quarter of our current sustainers when that year started. The average increase, so everyone was worried about the $7, and the average increase was by $11 a month. So the average increase was higher than what we were asking for. It resulted in $786,000-ish in annualized, which is like, add up all 12 months, or another $65,000 a month in new revenue. And that's just the increased portion. That's not the total of all the sustainers that increased their whole gift. That's just the increased portion. So it's almost half of the federal funding gap that Vermont Public faced. And people also want to know how our sustainers reacted. It was largely positive. We had very few complaints, very few negative reactions to the request for increases. And when someone says they can't, we just either put them on a low solicitation list or we remove them from it entirely. There are some quotes here. I won't read them all aloud to you, but we'll share the slides later. Essentially, people really reacted to that $7 a month number. They reacted to the fact that, I've been meaning to increase, or I didn't know I could increase. So largely it was positive. So that's our experience. And I will pass it over to Anne.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks so much, Katie. So, hey y'all, thanks so much for being here. I also wanted to give some station information too, just for context. So we are radio only and we're a news format station. We do have some music programs, but we don't play classical music or anything. We consider ourselves a news and information station. Our weekly cume is about 310,000 right now. That's our total listening area. We have about 53,000 total households giving, about 2,300 of which are major donors. 81% sustainers right now overall. That percentage has hovered around 84, 85 for a long time. These numbers are based on last fiscal year. We obviously saw an influx of one-time donations in response to the rescission of federal funding, and so our percentage has gone down slightly, but still 81 we're very happy with, of course. We have an overall retention rate of 86%, 92% for sustainers, and similarly, in our membership department, we have 3 full-time fundraisers. I'm including Regina in that, who's, as the development director, obviously manages a lot of other things. Myself, and then we have a digital fundraising coordinator, Kara Hicks. We do also have a database administrator and a front desk listener services specialist. But as far as folks actually working on fundraising strategy and membership, it's just the 3 of us. Our tech stack is, our donor database right now is Enterprise, although we are currently migrating to Salesforce. So just say a little prayer for us on that. Luminate Online is our CRM and also payment processor. All of our donation forms live in Luminate Online as well. We also, of course, get donations through Stripe and other sources too. We use MailChimp for our emails also, and we use Hustle for our texting, which I am going to talk about. So I wanted to include that too. So we've been asking sustainers for increases for quite a while now. Our program really launched in the fall of, I believe, 2010. And so we have a really mature sustainer program. And so a few years after the program launched, once I started in September of 2011, we realized after some great consulting from, Barbara Appleby and Valerie Argenbright and other stations, we got, they were saying, these are your most loyal donors. You need to be asking them for more support. So I went back about 10 years, and since 2016, about on average 26% of our sustainers are upgrading every single year. Highlighting the last 2 years, fiscal year 2025, 29%, with a total of 710,000 in upgrade revenue. The same as what Katie said, when I say 710 in upgrade revenue, that's just the amount of the increase, right? So that's not the new total donation that they're giving, that's just the increase amount annualized. And the average increase was $8 a month that year. And then, of course, last year, huge response, 37% increase rate, 1.4 million again in just upgrade revenue. Average was $11 a month also. For some context too, we lost $800,000 in annual support from the federal government. And so we surpassed that just with the increases, which was just incredible. So next slide. So obviously a lot of our upgrades are around our fund drives. It's either happening during the fund drive or it's happening right before the fund drive. We don't do a ton of ongoing messaging asking donors for upgrades. We really focus it on the drives. And so these are some on-air messaging. We don't really focus on a single dollar amount. We say if you're a sustainer, consider an increase of a few dollars a month. Especially last year, we said we've heard from so many sustainers who are doubling their support. If that works for you, please increase now. Obviously, joining the leadership circle at $100 a month. I included some spots here too. I don't think we need to play all of them. I think the first one is a short spot from Tamara Keith that we just got her to custom record a spot. So we can go ahead and play that one.
Hi, this is Tamara Keith from NPR. If you're a WUNC sustainer, thank you so much. If you can, consider increasing your monthly donation. An increase of just a few dollars a month will go so far and will ensure that WUNC can continue to provide the news and information you love and listen to every day. You can increase your WUNC sustainer donation by calling 1-800-962-9862. Thanks so much for your support.
So super simple. We also have a lot of our staff members record spots like that. But I mean, as y'all know, NPR releases custom promo windows. So if you haven't done something like that, consider having a few folks do some increased spots. You can air them during the drive. That's a 29-second. We could air it out of the drive if we wanted to. So just an idea there. We'll play the second spot as well. The third is a testimonial. So we'll share the slides and y'all can listen after the fact. But at WUNC, we do a lot of drawings. We're very incentive driven and sustainers are automatically entered into all of our drawings. Our morning edition host calls the winners of what we call our big trips. We do trips to the destination of your choice, Paris, things like that. He cold calls them, so we don't set this up or anything. He'll just call them until he gets somebody on the phone. And this is a spot we really love because this was an unprompted conversation and the winner said this.
This is Jamie.
Good day.
Hi.
It's Eric Hodge calling from North Carolina Public Radio. Now, why would I say something as silly as good day with a horrible, horrible Australian accent?
Australia.
You are.
What? Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I'm one of the sustainers.
See, it really works. You get entered in every drawing and boom, you get pulled out and you're going to Australia.
You don't even have to think about it. And then one day out of the blue, you get a fun phone call. What? My mind's a little blown right now.
Who do you think you might take with you?
My husband.
All right. Boy, is he going to be surprised, huh?
He will be surprised.
Does he know you guys are sustainers?
I don't know. I handle that part, so probably not.
All right. Well, now he's going to say, that was a great idea, Jamie.
He's going to say, up that subscription. Send in some more money. Okay.
All right. Go call your husband now.
I sure will.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, you know, a lot of times we use a lot of comments during fund drives too. We do a lot of listener testimonials. I mean, our listeners can 9 times out of 10 say things much better than we ever could. So we really like that spot because she talked about increasing her support totally unprompted. So another piece of our upgrading is direct mail and also telemarketing. We send letters and do phone calls in advance of the fund drives asking sustainers to increase as part of a matching fund, very similar to what Katie was talking about. So if you increase, the annual amount of your increase will go into a challenge that we will use during an upcoming fund drive to encourage other folks to become sustainers too. So that's another piece of our program that we have included for a long time as well. Next slide, please.
Hi, this is Tamara Keith from NPR.
I started giving
if you're a
There we go.
Sorry, I don't know why it does that. It did that when I was testing too.
Okay. So another major piece of our upgrade program during Drive specifically, we send this email. I included the copy just so you can take a look at it. I won't go through the whole thing, of course, but we towards the end of every drive, we send an email to all sustainers saying that if you increase your donation by any amount, make an additional donation in any amount, or update your payment information, you can request one of the thank you gifts that we offered during the fund drive. This year is our 50th anniversary, so this copy is from our spring drive, and so it was very much commemorative 50th anniversary thank you gifts. We've done a ton of testing on this. In general, these emails account for about 15% of the total increases that we get in any given drive. So it's a big driver, and also it's just we look at it as another kind of like cross-channel, messaging. They're hearing the messages on the radio, they're getting the email, then they call in to increase. So this is another big, we've been doing this for a long time, every drive. And I mean, folks wait for this. Like people will say, when are you going to send out the sustainer offer email? I want to, get a t-shirt for this drive. And so this has been really successful for us too. So next slide. The thing I really wanted to chat about a little bit was texting. I think probably the single most revolutionary thing that we have included in our sustainer upgrade strategy in the last couple of years is texting people. We've been using Hustle for a while now. I think we've been texting sustainers as part of our recapture process for maybe 4 or 5 years, but we had only been using it for that. So we were super underutilizing the platform. You basically pay a flat fee for a certain number of messages, and we were super under that. It just hit me that we were just not doing enough with that platform. And so in FY25, we started texting sustainers, asking them to increase their support. That year, about $27,000 was raised from those text increases, which was about 7% of our overall increases. Last year, it was $348,000, which was 34% of our total increases. And we actually stopped doing telemarketing because the ROI and the investment was it just made so much more sense financially and response-wise. People don't answer their phones as much. I think I read somewhere recently that like 99.9% of texts are actually opened. And so we stopped doing our telemarketing and we shifted over to doing texting. So a few basic things that I will say there were several growing pains with this. We set it up originally in not the best way. It was really, really manual, which we were happy to do, of course, to get the additional support for the station. But we did realize there's probably a better way to do this. So here's a few things that we've learned over the years. So number one is that the texts come from a person. So for us, they come from Regina. Our whole sustainer program is very much branded with her name, and it's a personal touch, but also somebody's going to need to monitor the responses, right? So we have an automation set up based on a trigger word. So the way that we do it is we say, hi, Regina, you're currently giving $10 a month. Would you please increase to 15? Just respond with the letter Y, and we will take care of it for you. So the barrier on the donor side is super, super low. They don't have to go to a form. They don't have to do anything. They just have to respond with the letter Y, and then we'll take care of everything for them. So we do have automation set up, and so if they respond with that letter, then they will get a message and we'll take care of it that way. And so I'll show you that in the next slide. But sustainers love you. Obviously, they're your most loyal people. If they think Regina is texting them, which she is, then they will respond to her and not necessarily just say why. And so, of course, we want to make sure that Regina is the one who's actually responding to those people. So Regina is in our platform every day for several hours during fund drives and before fund drives, just responding to folks saying, thank you so much for increasing, all that kind of stuff. The upgrades are also done manually, so we don't have any integration. It's not like it happens and then the upgrade automatically magically is transferred to our donor database. That does not happen. I think we got 12,000 text increases last year, and I manually did every single one. You just go in and increase it, and that's just part of it. So that is another thing that I just think is important to note, because I would love an integration to occur. And if anybody else has one out there, I think that would be awesome to pursue, but we do not currently have that.
Now you know why I love Anne.
Yeah. So we use custom ask amounts based on a string. We work with Greater Public Direct Mail Co-op for our mail. And so a lot of these folks are getting letters. They're also getting texts. And I wanted, obviously, there to be consistency in the ask. And so we work with them on these specific custom ask amounts based on what the donor is currently giving. In general, it's about a 42% increase over their current giving level. And again, we're still carrying that sustainer challenge language through our texts as well. Next slide. So I'm not going to go into all of this, but I thought it would be kind of helpful when the slides are shared after the fact to like kind of get a sense of how we build our text campaigns in Hustle. These screenshots are examples of like the suppressions on the right, just so you have an idea of kind of like how to set it up in either Hustle or in your platform. At least somewhat of a guide I thought would be kind of helpful. When we first started doing this, we sent the texts manually, like somebody was clicking and sending thousands of texts for every single one. One of the learning curves that we did was to do it broadcast style, so we're sending several messages all at once. So that's all in here. Again, for you to just reference after the fact. And then you can go to the next slide, which is the last slide. So on the left is an example of a text message that we recently sent out. This is again from our spring fundraising campaign. And it has the ask amounts in there. He was giving $50 a month. We're asking him for $65 a month. Just reply why. If you would like to increase, we can easily take care of that for you. So that is an example. We also tested images in the texts. So this year is our 50th anniversary. We put that logo in there. We've done other tests with, Protect Public Radio, Protect Democracy. We did one, the emergency drive after the funding was rescinded that said, Washington, D.C. has made its choice, now you can too. And so some images have been really powerful in there as well for us. And then on the right is a screenshot of the automation logic. And so when they respond yes, these are the things that happen. They get this message, they get tagged, and then they get added to a specific group. And that's how I'm able to pull the people who respond yes, so that I can increase them. And then there's some other, tips on here too. Based on, I also tag everyone who says no, so that they are suppressed from future texts and things like that. So that is it for me. So I'll stop now. And I know we want to leave time for questions and for other folks to share their experiences too. So
I have to say, hats off to Bob Castle, who also works at WNC, and he was out of town for a family funeral, and he was going nuts because he couldn't be here for the emergency campaign. And we hadn't figured out how to do broadcast yet on that telemarketing. So he punched a button and sent, was it 9,000 times you had to punch the button?
Yeah.
He had to sit there and do 9,000. Then he was sending us pictures of his finger and bandage and everything. But Ann quickly figured out how to do broadcast after that. We had some attrition in a position. So she figured out how to just hit one button and 9,000 texts would go out. So, but anyway, do y'all anybody have any questions? No, not any.
I have one, I think, for Katie. You talked about a online form that you were promoting on air. So like, Vermont Public /update. How did you track that back to donors? Like, was email enough to do that? And then you just had to reach out to anyone who got a new Gmail or moved away from their Comcast or whatever?
Yeah. So, it's a few different things. On air, we tried telling people to go to vermontpublic.org/update, which is actually our update form. It's the same form people use to put in their information, like update their address or their payment method and stuff like that. And I don't know if any of you are using ACD forms and you found a better way to do this than we have, but it is clunky at best. And it's really cumbersome for the donor. Like, they have to fill out all their information. And so we just tell people, go to vermontpublic.org, and we have a link there that goes either to the update form, or when we're in Drive, we send it to a Google form. And the risk you run there, like the problem that we found with the update form on ACD is that the other thing people can do is they can put in amounts lower than they're actually already giving, and it's just a mess. So we found the cleanest, easiest way is to have a Google form, and we link to it on our main donate form when we're in Drive. And it's name, email, and amount they want to increase by, and I think phone number too. It's enough that we can match it. And the amount of people that we have to manually like go back and contact because they're either not already a sustainer or we can't find them for some reason or like something like that, it's like 2 or 3 per drive. It's very small. So hopefully that answers your
So
question. So on
it
air,
does. So skip
yeah,
even trying to use calls without walls or simple donate or whatever it is, and just go
yeah,
through some form software.
yeah. Our CRM folks do not love that because it requires manual entry. But it's myself and my colleague Sarah. We just split up the form and we do it when we have time during drive.
Yeah. Do you do any like so like we have a lot of our sustainers the first, 15th, and 22nd. Do you do anything with timing so it's like you don't send it out just before their payment date, so you make sure you can get the next one at the increased amount?
Yeah, so we who we suppress from sustainer asks and like who we ask is it's all based on timing of like have they increased in the past 6 months is the sweet spot we've found. Because there are some people who will increase over and over again if you keep asking them. And we also suppress people who are giving at our producer circle level, which is $100 a month and more. So anyone who's in like the mid and major donor pool gets suppressed. And in terms of timing, our drives are usually in the middle of a month. So it's not so bad because the bulk of them process either in the beginning or the end. Yeah, I mean, we've found it to be not, there's a handful of people who might double process by accident. But if we're doing all that manual entry, we just reach out to them individually and say, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mary?
I'm curious about what is it called, Hustle, and that database that you use, because we do texting with Greater Public, and I'm wondering if we're just paying a lot more because they do everything. You know, we just send them the data and they make everything happen. We have a back end where we can answer, you know, respond to all the texts and do stuff like that. But would you be comfortable sharing how much it costs? Or I guess I could just look online to see what their thresholds are for the number of texts, because
I would be happy
I
to.
like that you can do it.
Yeah, I don't have the number off the top of my head. But yeah, I can get that for you and share it with you, Mary. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
thank you.
Mhm.
I think it's really affordable. I want to say, is it 10,000 or less? I think I remember you being like, it's just amazing compared to what we were paying to telemarketing, you know, for the increases,
Yeah,
but it
oh,
was not.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 10,000. We did surpass that last fiscal year because we were like, we need to text all these sustainers. And so I think we actually added an addendum to it. And so I think it's $14,000 a year for us at this point. Um,
And that's
but
unlimited texting. You can send as many as you want, as often as you want.
there is a limit, but the limit is like 500,000 or some, like the limit is super, super high to
Yeah.
where I mean, I don't think we've even really, the original limit was much lower with the 10,000 because we were only using it for recaptures at that time. And so we never hit that threshold, but then we passed whatever that minimum was. So it's really, really high. I mean, I don't think we'll even come close to hitting it
Oh,
this
that's
year. So
awesome.
yeah.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
I just think it's so worth it too, because it's so easy for the donor. I mean, it is, as Ann said, you know, there's a lot of back end, you got to enter it, a lot of monitoring the text. I've worked at WNC for 33 years, so there's a lot of like, oh, hey, Regina, how's it going? I'm so sorry you lost your funding. And, you know, so, you know, you have to answer that and be like, I know, but we'll get by with your support, you know, so.
Well, honestly, I have a little fun with that because, you know, they come from different people. And sometimes I'm, you know, our station manager, Kevin, he uses wonderful a lot and, you know, a lot of words that he doesn't really use, but
Yeah.
I
See
enjoy
that
it.
and that work, I don't know. It worries me, especially now when there's so much talk about AI and you know, is this really a real person or is it AI? Like we
Oh,
even
yeah.
send out emails from different people if we get, you know, Ann writes it and lets them know, like, is there anything you want to change about this? And then it goes out. But if somebody responds like to our morning edition host, I send it to them and I'm like, Eric, can you respond to this person? You know,
Oh,
so
yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I take such pride in that. I think as a public station, people are always like, oh my gosh, you replied, or I mean, of course.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think too, a big takeaway that we found with the texting and was just that, she said that 42% increase in the texting, but on air, as we saw the gifts coming in, we just, I mean, I was like, we don't need to say, we can say, why don't you increase by 5, 10, $20 a month? But we also started saying, we are seeing so many listeners right now to increase to $100 a month. Thank you so much. We're seeing so many people double their donations. Thank you so much. So kind of limiting yourself, because I heard people at the conference say, well, we lost 10% of our funding, so we asked everybody for a 10% increase. That requires people to sit and think, what am I giving? What's the 10%, versus saying doubling your donation or becoming a leadership circle member, or specific amounts. But it was pretty incredible, as everybody experienced. Anything else?
Sarah has a question.
Okay, Sarah.
I was just wondering, when you're texting, especially during a drive, are you acknowledging that on air so people do have a sense when they see that text come in that it's from a real person? And do you support it with an on-air reach?
I mean, not really. Every once in a while, I'll say you might have gotten an email or a text from me because I'm on a lot. But we don't really say it. I will tell you, we get calls in the pledge drive room, people saying, I got a text from Regina Yeager. Is it real? And they confirm that. So we let the volunteers know. But I don't think we do. Do we, Ann? Do we?
No, we don't. I mean, we do. It's funny because, like, again, it's just kind of a multi-channel ask, right? So we will, like, I know Regina will get emails from people who say, "Oh, I got a text from you. I didn't get a chance to respond, but I'm in my email, and I'll go ahead and increase to $20." And so sometimes she'll read that on the air as a comment, from a listener. So she'll reference the fact that we're texting folks, but we don't do any like strategic official supporting language on the air.
Can I ask, were you able to do any like demographic? Like, are there folks responding to text younger, or I'm going to make the assumption that they're a younger group of your donors, but do you have the data to support that?
No, and this is something I would love to get eventually. Like, this is kind of like down the line. I would love to really do a deep dive into the folks that are responding to the text, because no, we don't. And we don't do any, I mean, I do my standard segmentation. Like I would, like Katie was talking about, if they have increased in the last, 6 months or whatever, all that kind of stuff. But I don't do any additional segmentation for text specifically, because we haven't been able to drill down on the data. So that's something I would love to do in the next couple of years. Yeah.
One thing I just wanted to add that I'm realizing I didn't put in the slides, but something that has also worked really well for us in terms of asking for increases was we had a sustainer suggest. So before a drive, we stopped automatically opting sustainers into drawings. That's like a whole separate conversation. But before the drive, we send an email to sustainers to say, hey, fill out this form if you want to opt into the drawings that we have. And they can choose which drawings or whatever. That way we'd have people who are actually interested in the prizes. But we had someone suggest, like, if you made a line where I could also increase my gift here, I could just do it all in one spot. And we did that. And each drive, we get at least 100 upgrades from the sustainer opt-in form. So it's like opt in the drawings. Hey, you can also increase your gift. If you want to do that, let us know by how much a month. And it is so easy. And then, again, it's all manual entry that we have to do in the back end. But, 100 upgrades just from that is like pretty wild. So something to try. And I am looking for the Google form. My colleague has to reactivate an old one, but then we'll send it. I'll put it in the chat.
Bob, do you have a question?
Nope. Just accidentally hit unmute.
Oh, your hand's up. All right. Anybody else?
Katie, I was going to ask, how did you, and the folks from North Carolina, because we're also North Carolina, maybe there's a North Carolina law or something, I don't know what the rules are with sustaining memberships and having to opt in, but what was the whole process? Maybe it's too long for a conversation, but what was the process to like not have to do that and to only have people opt in for the gifts if they wanted to be part of them?
The drawings.
Oh, for drawings. That's a long story. So it all spurred for us from, we would have this issue where we would pull drawings after a drive or whatever, and we would we would have to call like half a dozen people, you know, weeks apart from each other and go through the whole rigmarole before we found someone who actually wanted it. And the bulk of those people who were sustainers who were like, I didn't even know I was entered into this drawing. And we sent out a survey via our membership e-newsletter to members and said, hey, if you're a sustainer and you could fill out this, it'd be really helpful for us to know, like, are drawings still an appeal for you? Are they appealing to you, and blah, blah, blah. So when we made that change and we decided to not have sustainers in drawings anymore, one, we communicated it to our members. We sent multiple emails about it. And how we phrased it was, we said, the membership benefits at Vermont Public are changing, and used it as also an awareness. Like, did you know you also get access to NPR Plus and Passport, and tried to highlight the new things like our merch store discount and stuff that they get. And the blowback from that was so minimal. And we did create a flag in our CRM so that if sustainers want to be just opted in for life, they can do that. We just have to add a flag to their account and they're done. Hopefully that answers the question and where it came from. Yeah, it was spurred out.
I will say, Andrea, that's not a problem at WNC. I think it's because Eric does those phone calls, but we don't ever have anybody turn down a prize. So
if anything, like, I'll call a donor and I'm like, I'm calling for your credit card update. And immediately they're like, oh, I wish you were Eric Hodge. I thought you might be calling me to tell me I won a trip. So
it's kind of funny because if y'all remember NPR's Carl Castle, he was a friend of mine, just a great person, may he rest in peace. And everywhere he went, they were like, will you put me on your, do my answering machine message because wait, don't tell me. And that's how Eric is in our community. Anybody who meets him, wherever he is, they're like, come on, Eric, call me. What are you doing? So he's got this like kind of cultural thing around him. We're going to be in trouble when he does retire because we've got so many spots with his voice on it.
Is anyone doing anything that has been successful for your station that we didn't talk about when it comes to upgrades? I mean, I'm always thinking of new ways to approach folks. So if anyone has anything we haven't talked about to share, I would love to hear.
And the other thing is, if anybody's done a pledge drive, how did it go? Because I know some stations did some summer July pledge drives to kind of mirror what happened, last year where they were doing a drive. I'd love to know. I haven't really heard. Has anybody heard? Mary, you did one?
We did do one. We just did a one day, and it was great for us. It was very, very successful. Went over our goal, and
yay!
And it took the place of a grueling, for me, and I think for listeners, 3-week stealth drive that we had been doing. So it was much nicer, one and done, and hopefully it'll feel like there's a long enough.
Yeah. Karen, do you have a question or?
I was just gonna comment on one thing kind of about the web forms that had come up. One thing that works for OPB, and we do have the benefit of our own in-house custom built forms. But all of our email forms are an increase. And this took a really long time for us to work out what worked best in which place, but all of our email increase asks are an increase too. So it's preloaded with sort of ask amount specific to the person. For any web giving, in order to kind of avoid that, like, oh, a person could accidentally decrease their gift, everything there is increased by. So it's all set up to be like $7, $8, stuff like that. And that's worked really, really well. We have to do a weird thing on the back end to make the math happen that is way more complex than I can.
Karen, you're with OPB?
Yes.
Yeah. Did y'all do a drive? Did somebody tell me y'all were going to do a?
We did. We had a 2-day on the 16th and 17th for the anniversary. It did all right. I would sort of compare it to, I mean, it's hard to compare it to anything, of course, but a typical one day that we would have around like a Giving Tuesday or end of fiscal year. So definitely the sustainer increases are still the folks who came out the most strongly in the past year. They're still the folks who are responding now. So definitely push it if you're not.
Because I do think one thing that came from the conference is that you don't necessarily, I mean, you don't want to position it like an emergency drive anymore, but the federal funding message is still resonating as a catalyst to give. And I've been a little worried because I've heard stations say, we're going to stop talking about that and just talk about 100% community supported. And I don't think we'll stop talking about it for a while, right? And I think as long as it's working, we're going to focus on it. And people are worried right now about the media landscape, about protecting democracy and a free independent press. It's just strong, strong messaging.
Yeah, I was going to say something. I went to Katie's presentation that she did at the PMGC, which I thought was great. And y'all talked about, oh, I just lost my train of thought.
We were talking about it comes with age. Protect public radio, protect democracy.
Oh, yes. You talked about putting all of the listener comments into like an AI tool and kind of getting main themes and stuff. And so we hadn't done anything like that. We monitor comments a lot. We get a lot, obviously, during drives. And so we do a campaign in August. And so in advance of that, I went back for the whole year and put in a bunch of those comments and got really, I mean, it was basically media concern about the media and all that kind of stuff. And then it was still federal funding messaging. I mean, up through recent gifts we've gotten within the last couple of months, people were still talking about, the government and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we'll continue that messaging for a while.
Yeah, I thought that was a great way to use ChatGPT to drop them all in and say, what are the biggest themes? What are people thinking of? And I mean, there are direct lines in there that we're going to make pitch cards out of and pitch points out of. But it was like fight the good fight, protect democracy. Like, it's where they are right now. It's where we are right now.
And going into an election shouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
So any other good ideas? Anything y'all are worried about coming up on we got about 5 more minutes with your campaigns coming up, or are people doing September drives? We tend to go in October. It's right around the corner.
Ours is going to be the 3rd week of September. But we won't have had a drive since our spring drive in April, because we usually have a June drive, but we did so well last year. We decided give the audience a break, give us a break and skip it. So I'm interested to see, interested, I guess is the word, how it does with that long of a break between drives.
We did a June drive and it was pretty horrible. And I think it was also like our March drive was really late in March and our June drive was really early in June. So it felt like that we had everyone, like even us on the pitching side, we're like, didn't we just do this? And we're like, well, yeah. So I think there's part of it that was that for sure. And there's some other things going on, but so I'm makes me very nervous about how
long was your drive again?
We do basically 6 days. We do Saturday and then Monday through Friday, and we only do drive time pitching. So,
and was there primary messaging around anything, or is it?
I mean, no, yes, I don't know. Kind of hard. I mean, yes, federal funding. I mean, the federal funding is still part of it. And yeah, so I mean, I don't know that the messaging changed a whole lot. And we even had, donor matches, because we've been doing those, and because a matching challenge, and it didn't help. It was, it was also, I think the pitching didn't change, but like financially, Katie, I probably we could have done kind of what you did is like, we don't really need it right now. But I was like, I kind of want to get ahead. So maybe I was being a little too greedy and people kind of could hear that in everyone's pitch, but maybe not. I don't know. So, but it makes me nervous because it was it was very, very low. I don't think we'd had a fund drive that was that poor of a showing in years and years and years.
Wow. And do y'all usually do June?
We always do 4.
Wow.
Yep.
I know. I'm nervous too. We haven't gone since spring. So, and we've just, again, the increases are great, right? But you do think like moving forward, how many more people will increase, how many more people will give. So
How are folks' monthly givings looking? So this July compared to last July. So I mean, we're much lower than last July because everyone like threw money at us. But compared to 2 years ago, so I'm just trying to figure out which benchmarks to use. And so if I look at where we were 2 years ago, we're good. And if I add, so what do other people's Julys look like so far in their membership donations and renewals and all?
anybody wanna? Well, I mean, we did a 3-day drive in July and raised 1.4 million. So in 3 days. So we're down, but not a huge amount. I was actually, and I don't know how much has been pulled through to the reporting. Maybe Ann knows, but the sustainer revenue is up way up because of the increases in all the new donors we got. So we're hoping, like with each month, it'll build. So anybody else experiencing?
We're sort of the same, where we're up from 2 years ago, significantly down from last year, which we expected. But not down so much that's scary. I mean, we've added more than $100,000 a month in sustainer revenue overall. So that is making up a lot of the difference, I think, as we head into fall.
Yeah. And I know I talked to a lot of stations that said that their projections were either flat or down for this coming year. So
From last year?
From last year, that's what they're projecting, like for their budget, like flat or down.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think time is up. Thank you. Everybody applaud Katie and Ann. Y'all did such a great job. Thank you so much. All right, go forward and do sustainer upgrading. Woo!
Bye, guys. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.